Okay, we're back live. I don't know why it's still not showing a video. We'll figure it out eventually. But I'm going to get back to the speakership. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Let's go find out what's going on in Congress.
Office of the Speaker of the House of Representatives for the 119th Congress. The name of the Honorable Mike Johnson, a representative from the state of Louisiana.
Oh, big stretch.
Welcome, everybody. I am optimistic about our future. On November 5th, the American people gave us a great opportunity to get America back on the right track. They gave us an opportunity to get back to normal and to get back to the real issues that the country, people want the opportunity to take care of their families.
All right, we're going to move.
Everything this guy says is a lie. He's cheated on all three of his families. So the fact that you think you can trust him is hilarious. And people like me aren't just out here because we don't like him. It's not just that I just don't like the shade of orange that he puts on his face every day. It's not that. It's not that I just don't like that he has a horse's tail as a haircut. It's not that. It's more than that. I believe in my wholeheartedly, because I've done the research, I believe that he's compromised. I believe that he is compromised at least by Russia and maybe by other foreign powers as well. He negotiated an oil deal with Russia and Saudi Arabia that was arguably the worst oil deal in the United States history. And very shortly after that, his son-in-law got $2 billion. And I know that MAGA really likes to talk about how salary. It's like, well, you don't need to take a salary when your son-in-law is getting $2 billion from the Saudis.
Right.
He took millions from China while he was in office. He rented office space to Qatar while he was in office. If you don't know Qatar, they're one of the biggest state sponsors of terrorism on this planet. He's now appointing Pam Bondi to be Attorney General, and she lobbies for Qatar. Okay? This is not a guy who's a patriot. He doesn't care about this country. He doesn't care about you and your family. If you think he cares about your family, why would he cheat on all three of his? Right. This is a guy that lies about everything. Yeah. Everything he says is a lie. He doesn't weigh 215 pounds, and he doesn't win every golf tournament at his country clubs. I promise. And I know that you hate us. You hate me because I'm a liberal. And you think all liberals have blue hair and we're all Satan worshiping transgender vegans, and we're going to take your guns and melt them down and turn them into rings for gay people to get married with.
Well,
whatever it is that you think. I support all types of people and their right to do and be and love and exist whoever and however they want to. That is not a liberal ideal. That is an American ideal.
Yes.
To support equality and to err on the side of kindness. I got that from a guy you may have heard of named Jesus Christ.
Well, yeah.
There's a book about him, and you should read it.
Yeah.
There's also
Let's
a thing called
go.
the American Constitution, and you should read that too.
Amen.
And you can't out America me.
14.3.
I'm from the Cash Clan. We came here in 1665. Okay? And you can't out Southern me. My dad grew up picking cotton and tobacco. He worked on a pit crew when they still raced NASCAR on dirt. My mom talks in tongues. My last name is Cash. I'm related to Johnny. He's my fifth cousin twice removed, whatever that means. You're not more American than us. You're not. And you're not tougher.
Way to go,
and you're certainly not
Jessica.
smarter. And let me tell you this. We're divided right now, and it's because of Russia. Okay? They want you to hate me and for me to hate you. They want to destabilize our economy with trade wars with our closest allies like Canada and Mexico. They want to destabilize our economy with tariffs and deporting our workforce and destabilize our military by firing a very experienced and qualified four-star generals. They want to destabilize our military intelligence by appointing a Russian asset, Tulsi Gabbard, to the head of national intelligence. And don't take my word for it that she's a Russian asset. Her own party has called her that. Members of her own party, her former employees that worked under her, Russia called her an asset. Ukraine called her an asset. Everybody from Mitt Romney to Liz Cheney has called her an asset because she is. Now, why would an American president appoint a Russian asset to be the head of national intelligence? Who does that benefit? Does that benefit you and your small town and your family and your job? It doesn't. There's a reason all these things are meant to destabilize this country. And if you let this guy take our White House, it is the end of American democracy. And it's not hyperbole. It's a fact and it's a reality. And you need to listen to us so that you can do something now instead of regretting it later. Next. To my friends in the Democratic Party, please hear me. Please hear me. Please stop getting in a circular firing squad and blaming each other for this election loss. Please stop saying that we went too far to the left and we shouldn't have talked about trans issues. First of all, nobody really talked about trans issues. Second of all, it is our obligation as Americans and as Democrats and liberals and progressives to honor other people, to give space to other people, to support people's right to exist. Trans people aren't the ones appointing a Russian asset to be the head of national intelligence. Trans people are not your problem. Rich people, powerful, evil, rich people have convinced you, while 60,000 people die in this country every year from not having enough health care. Right. And they've convinced half the country that their biggest problem is a trans volleyball player 17 states away. And it's absurd. It's anti-intellectualism at its best. The only thing dumber would be appointing the lady from the wrestling channel as a cabinet member. We're doing that too. But please hear me out, Democrats. Please stop blaming each other and saying we went too far left, or we should have done this, or we gotta beat Joe Rogan, and no, you don't. We lost, and I'm using air quotes because I don't believe it. That's up to you if you do. We lost the election because a foreign adversary spent millions and millions and millions of dollars on bot farms to bombard half the country with Russian disinformation, and they beat it into their heads to the point that Americans started to parrot it, from Joe Rogan to Tim Pool. We know Tim Pool was paid $100,000 per episode directly from Russian money to put out Russian talking points. Okay? That's a problem. That's not a fair election. Russia called in 78 bomb threats to swing districts during this election.
Georgia.
That's not a fair election. Okay? That's not a clean election. That is election interference. So I'm asking Democrats, stop blaming your fellow Americans and start blaming Russia. Start blaming the people within our own government that are working for and with Russia.
Congress, we
are all playing basketball, and the Democrats are trying not to travel or double dribble. And Republicans are running down the court, and the ball is on fire, and they got nunchucks in the other hand.
Cash
Stop thinking that you're going to stop lawless people by using laws. Stop telling me and the people here that we're crazy for trying to keep an insurrectionist out of our White House. They're crazy for trying to put an insurrectionist into our White House.
Yeah.
The game has changed. The rules are no longer the same. Stop following them. Play hardball. All right? Yes.
Let's go.
My last message is to Congress. Do your job. Uphold your oath. We know you. We listen to you on all the programs, on your social media.
That's right.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Jamie Raskin, Jared Moskowitz, all these people, Yasmin Crockett, all you amazing leaders with your amazing voices. We know you. We are you. You're like us. Listen to us. If you don't stop this, this is on you. The fall of American democracy is on you. You have to have a spine. All these people came from all over this country and others to be here today to show you that we have a spine and we have a backbone, and we're hoping that ours will be contagious and you'll catch it too. You have to. You have to demand. You have to demand. This guy is already disqualified according to the 14th Amendment. You have to demand a vote to remove the disqualification. You have to. That is our last best hope. And to the Democrats that think we're going to beat them in the midterms, I think it's adorable that you think they're going to let us have midterms. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think autocracy is on the way if we don't stop it now, today and Monday. Thank you very much. I want to introduce our next speaker. I want to introduce our next speaker. We have Mark Graber. He's a constitutional law scholar, and he's also a professor of constitutional law at the University of Maryland. Thank you so much, Mr. Graber.
All right.
Everybody.
Senator Daniel Clark of New Hampshire, the two senators responsible for Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Thank you very much for honoring their handiwork.
All right, Mark.
And it's rather interesting because it's not the case, as you mentioned, I want to make a slight correction. An insurrectionist can be president of the United States under Section 3. An insurrectionist cannot be president if they have taken an oath to uphold the Constitution.
Yes.
And been an insurrectionist.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's at stake today, as a lot of the signs indicate, is people who have taken an oath to uphold the Constitution. What we're asking them to do is do it. You took the oath.
Do it.
Uphold the Constitution. That's what Section 3 says. If you take the oath and don't uphold the Constitution, that makes you ineligible. Now, the truth is that we very much are in the steps of some other petitioners. One of the first petitioners to Congress, a group of Quakers, 1790. Their petition was, please, Congress, stop the trade, stop the slave trade, start emancipation. And I suspect when they were writing their petitions, going out in the cold, their friends said what a lot of your friends said. Why are you doing this? You really think Mike Johnson's going to change his mind because we got signs?
Well, yes.
You really think a South Carolina slaveholder owns about 500 slaves is going to read the Quaker petition and change their mind? But they signed those petitions. They signed those petitions in 1835 when Congress said we wouldn't even read them. They signed those petitions in 1860.
Mm-hmm.
And one day in 1865, there was a new amendment. No more slavery. First thing it taught us, if you like instant gratification, petitioning and protesting is not for you. It takes time.
Let's
What we
go.
can do is something Abraham Lincoln asked of us. When Lincoln was running for president, he said, here's what my opponents really want. They don't simply slavery in the West. They don't simply want us to return fugitive slaves. What they want us to do is stop calling slavery wrong and join them in calling it right. Because here's what Donald Trump wants. They will not be satisfied if Donald Trump becomes president January 20th. They won't be satisfied if every felon, every insurrectionist who participated in January 6th is pardoned. They won't be satisfied if Donald Trump is never held legally accountable for his civil and criminal offenses. What MAGA really wants is we cease calling January 6th wrong and join them in
It'll
calling
never
it
happen.
right. And I think we are here most fundamentally because we will never call January 6th right. We will insist on the oath. We will start. What's an insurrection? Requires an assemblage. We say there were lots of people out there on January 6th. What can they say? It requires people resisting a law. They were resisting the law that says peaceful transformation of power from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. You must resist by force or violence. Not like this, we're standing holding signs. They were knocking down police officers. People died. People were injured.
People died.
And they must resist not because they want to make money, but for the public purpose of challenging an election, trying to overthrow a government. That's an insurrection. It's what Americans have called an insurrection since
For hundreds of
1789.
years.
It's what English have called an insurrection since 1351, the original English statute of treasons. What does it mean to participate? All it means is to knowingly help out people engaged in insurrection. Donald Trump was told by his aides, your rhetoric is inflaming violence. What did Donald Trump do? He doubled down on violent rhetoric. He went to the park on January 6th and it was told, these people are bent on violence. Calm them down. He told them to fight like hell.
And march to the Capitol.
They fought like hell. What did he do? He called them patriots. He did nothing. He forgot, apparently, he was the chief law enforcement official of the country. That's participating in an insurrection.
Yes, it is.
That's why he was disqualified. It's rather interesting. I was involved in the litigation. And many of you know what conservatives say is, innocence shouldn't be irrelevant. None of these technicalities. All Donald Trump argued in the disqualification cases were technicalities. A president isn't really subject to Section 3. It's the wrong court.
Yes.
A state can't do it. This court can't do it. It's only meant for the Civil War. The lawyers spent almost no time saying, well, it wasn't an insurrection. He didn't do it, because they knew it was an insurrection. He did do it, and if there's one group who can say this, it's Congress.
Yeah. Yes.
And if
Yes.
there's another group who can say this, it's us.
Yes.
Because we can simply make a commitment.
Go, Mark.
We will never cease calling
Big shout out
January
to the I defend
and
the post.
insurrection.
Right.
We will never
Love that
cease
sign.
calling Donald Trump and insurrections.
Amen.
Yeah.
We will never cease in claiming that Donald Trump, an insurrectionist, is not qualified to be president of the United States.
Right.
Right.
Qualified.
Because we can never cease to call what happened on January 6th wrong and join those who want to say, let's forgive and forget and call it right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Way to go, Mark.
All right, gang, you got to listen to me talk some more. I'm so sorry. Yes,
That's all right, Cliff.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to let people know, in case anyone here is interested in helping lobby, and in case anyone here that's watching would like to help, what we're trying to do, and it's urgent, as the next Congress convenes today, okay, that members of Congress should apply the power that the Constitution gives to Congress. Of course, we all know about the insurrection clause. And so what I want to encourage everyone to do, and I would say, not that I want to disband this level, represents way more than 10,000 souls and spirits who really care about this issue and who really want to see our elected officials honor their oath.
That's right.
And not seat these people. It is against the Constitution, a violation of the Constitution, for those people to sit idly by and let them be sworn in.
That's right.
And I can't overemphasize the importance that each citizen here has to contact their representative in the House of Representatives and their two senators and say, you guys work for me. I want you to honor your oath of office. And so I'm going to go to, I met with Adam Schiff in person yesterday.
Yeah.
And I want to let you know that we've been in touch with Padilla's office. We're calling them, we're emailing them. We have copies of the petition, which was filed with the Secretary of the Senate.
All right.
And we have a Q&A about that petition here. We have our urgent message that we just put out this morning to try and disqualify from seating in the 119th Congress, at least those most egregious. If we can't dismiss all 130, because anyone who voted for the false electors and voted to not honor the Electoral College that was duly elected, duly appointed back in January 2021, aided the insurrection.
Right.
And they also should not be seated. All 130 of them should be disqualified. And they can still do that. They still need to pick a speaker, and they still need to hold the swearing in, and we still have the possibility of doing that. So we really need to just flood those phone lines and deluge with emails and contact your representatives and your senators today, please. Okay,
Right.
it's our last chance, and you're our only hope. I just have to say that we need to do this. Thank you very much. And I'm heading over to the House of Representatives and the Senate now. If anyone wants to come with me, there's a train here that goes to the south station near the House of Representatives. Not that I want to break up your rally.
No, we're going to try and get everybody there.
After the rally, if you've got my phone numbers on the email.
Yes,
We want to all come.
You have our participation.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I just want to say one last thing that I kind of forgot to throw in there is that, it wasn't just a couple thousand people breaking into the Capitol and pooping in Nancy Pelosi's office and breaking windows and causing $2 million of damage. And
Nope.
that's enough.
Fake electors.
That would be enough. But it wasn't just that. It was a coordinated effort between the Trump administration, Michael Flynn, the corpse of Steve Bannon, and all these other people. They're coordinating directly with the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys who cover their faces. That's how proud they are. Isn't that funny that they're called the Proud Boys and they're anti-gay? Because that's the gayest name I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
The first time I heard Proud Boys, I pictured a twink like twerking on a pride flag.
Right.
Anyway,
We
we
know
should have
everything
thought
about
that through, Proud Boys. But they coordinate with the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers to send these guys into the Capitol to physically get the electors. They wanted to take or sabotage or remove completely the electors, and thereby throwing the certification process off completely. So that was the more sinister spine of the whole thing, and the rednecks breaking windows was a distraction. But we've got another speaker for you guys. We're really, really lucky to have her. This is Andrea Chalupa from Gaslit Nation. She's going to share a
Right,
personal
Andrea.
story with dictatorship. So please give her a round of applause.
And thank you to all the speakers. I want to look at all of you. I want to take we got folks at home that need to call their representative, somebody looking at them, but I love you. You're my favorites that actually showed up in this cold, and that's exactly what we need to do. I am here in gratitude and in solidarity with all of you, and I'm also here because none of this is normal. None of this is normal, and we're here because Merrick Garland is a coward. We're here because Christopher Wray is a coward. We're here because the Democratic Party establishment is filled with cowards. None of this is normal. Everything that's happening in the United States of America, before the eyes of the world, before our allies, before the men and women in Ukraine who are fighting against fascism, the same fascism that openly backs Trump and MAGA Mike Johnson and the entire MAGA movement are watching this and going, what the hell happened in the United States of America? This is happening right now in the country of Georgia. I don't know if you're following this.
Oh, yeah.
And our government passed sanctions against the Trumps of Georgia. And yet they're not doing anything to stop the Trumps here at home.
Let's go.
If America falls,
Shame.
what's going to happen to Georgia? What's going to happen to Ukraine? What's going to happen to Europe? What's going to happen to Japan? And on the list goes. Our allies are terrified watching this wherever they are because none of this is normal. And for far too long, people in positions of power have kicked the can down the road. And they've said, don't worry, the American people will stop this.
Yeah, here we are.
The American people who are being, the American people who are being bombarded with disinformation, propaganda warfare, the richest man in the world buying our town square with money linked to Russian oligarchs, by the way. There's reporting on this. Go look it up. And nobody dared to stop them. We're here because for far too long, no one dared to stick their necks out for us. And you know what? As an expert, somebody that's studied authoritarianism for decades now, I don't want to tell you how this story ends for people like us. And I don't need to tell you that's why you're here. Because what Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, whoever the hell, Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, what they're basically doing is forcing my kids, your kids, your grandchildren to be the generation of martyrs, to have to lay down their lives, stay in the streets and protest to stop what's coming. Because even if Donald Trump does a half of what he's promising, that's still weakening and destroying our country from within, to the point that the next guy to come along, like a J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel, is going to be so much worse. Do you understand how young this incoming Trump administration is?
Yes.
They've normalized political violence. They've normalized using violence, like what they did on January 6th, when your ideas aren't good enough, when no one wants you. Violence is a solution of cowards and people who are ignorant. If you cannot win on ideas, if you cannot win on giving people a smart option, and you turn to violence, you've lost. And that's what they've normalized here at home. I cannot tell you how bad this is. Maybe all of us will have a wonderful holiday season a year from now with our families. Maybe a year from now won't be so bad. Maybe by year 2 it won't be so, but this is going to get more and more and more and more normalized, to the point where you don't talk anymore about what's happening because you don't feel like you have a voice anymore. So let me tell you about my background. Both sides of my family escaped the hell of the Soviet Union. They escaped the Soviets, they escaped the Nazis. My mom and dad were born in refugee camps. The first thing my mom saw when she came to America was the Statue of Liberty. Opening her arms to her. My parents fought for the American dream. They grew up hungry, they worked hard in school, they got a good public education, and they achieved the American dream. And as immigrants, they contributed to making this country better.
Yes.
My father became a neuroscientist. advanced our knowledge of the brain and the mind. My mother, as a community activist, passed laws in California to protect children. She passed the car seat law and the seatbelt law. That's the immigrant story. That's what they did. Okay? They are American through and through. And I cannot even tell you, because of my beautiful family history, I've studied what Stalin did to Ukraine. I made a movie about it. I made 2 movies about it. One was a documentary shown at the United Nations. Another was a film that traveled the world. And these were films showing the terror of dictatorship, the kind of dictators that they promised to be on day one, right? And let me tell you, one of the most chilling things I learned in my research of dictatorship is this. I interviewed survivors of what Stalin put Ukraine through. The Holodomor, the man-made genocide famine that killed a conservative number, this is a conservative estimate, up to 4 million Ukrainians. That's a conservative estimate. I interviewed survivors and their families doing my research for my films, for all my books. And one of the most chilling thing I came across was how survivors living comfortable in Western democracies like Canada and the US, survivors of Stalin's terror, survivors of dictatorship living comfortably in the West, still didn't want to talk about it. That's how ingrained the terror and the fear was. In the comfort of a Western country, they did not want to talk about it. Their own children didn't know. And that is the truth for so many groups that have suffered under genocide. That is the truth to what happened to Black Wall Street in Oklahoma, right? We all saw what, that's the truth of the Native American genocide. Survivors and the descendants of this group do not talk about it. That is how deep the trauma goes. That silence is chilling to me. And that silence by the Democratic Party establishment, by Merrick Garland, who both sided a coup. So there's violence on both sides, which isn't true. All the stats show that the spike in violence in recent years is coming from the far right. Christopher Wray stepping down before his term is up, so Cash Patel can just waltz right in there and go to war on people like us. This silence, everybody who's contributing to this deafening silence right now has blood on their hands. They have your blood on their hands. They have your children's blood on their hands. They have those who are going to carry out this wannabe dictatorship. And again, even if it's not so bad, right? Even if it's just half the things he's promising, a guy that's already gotten away with stealing our nuclear secrets, leaving them in the cabana at Mar-a-Lago, wherever it was, who's got so many crimes. Just look up the recent reporting that came out this summer in the Washington Post about $10 million in cash from Egypt. And next thing you know, the dictator of Egypt gets an Oval Office meeting with then President Trump. This guy was persona non grata for U.S. foreign policy. And suddenly he's being normalized because $10 million in cash came from Egypt when Trump needed it. Who the hell lacks the moral courage? Who can sleep with themselves at night, letting this guy become president again? Voting for him. Merrick Garland failed us. Christopher Wray, who let January 6th be planned out in the open, failed us. As I've been warning on my podcast, Gaslit Nation, for years, an unpunished coup is a dress rehearsal for a successful coup, and that is where we are now. And I'm not here because I'm so sad Kamala Harris lost, right? That's not why we're here, because I ran episodes on Gaslit Nation leading up to the 2024 election, warning everyone that this is happening. I had an episode called Merrick Garland Lets MAGA Steal the Election. I had an episode all about the KKK playbook that Brian Kemp was using to suppress the vote in Georgia. We did not get here overnight. This has been decades of Republicans gutting the Voting Rights Act through their packed Supreme Court, through furthering a gerrymandering crisis that the UN issued a report on. It's so bad. And through consolidating their disinformation machine to create their army of zombies against us, against their own very own interests. We did not get here overnight. It's been a 40-year coup, and Donald Trump was just their final battering ram to just put in the final death blow to our democracy. But we're not going to let them win.
Not my president.
And I apologize. As a journalist, I apologize. I used to work in corporate media. I got the hell out to go independent, truly independent. You don't see me being invited to the White House to shake Biden's hand. It's truly independent. And so I want to say to you, I want to apologize on behalf of the media. Some of the mainstream who I'm friends with, some who come crying to me because they can't say what they really think in their corporate offices with all that great power. Okay, I want to apologize on all their behalf because they've normalized this. They talk about this horse race in politics without talking about the gerrymandering crisis. Okay, so I apologize. And I want to just end by saying this. every single one of you who showed up here. You were cold, you were tired, it's the holidays, you want to be with your family, there's great TV to watch, but you showed up here. You showed up here for each other. And that's how we get through this. Hold on to your humanity, hold on to each other. Never forget that our liberation is a shared liberation. And no matter how dark it gets, do not give in to the silence. The silence is incredibly seductive. The silence is incredibly seductive. The Black and gay liberation paid with their lives to show us, like Audre Lorde said, your silence will not protect you. Your silence will not protect you. So, okay, so understand, we fight them tooth and nail. They're going to test us out. They promise shock and awe. Stephen Miller, psychopath. That's my constitutionally protected right to say that. Okay, that's my opinion. Psychopath. So they promise on day one they're going to come in with shock and awe, right? If you're promising your base, if you're throwing that raw meat to your base, saying 11 million people, we're gonna drag out all those families. You can only do that through terror. And one thing I can tell you, I'll finish on this. And to the Democratic Party establishment at home watching, thinking that your money, your elitism will protect you. Your podcast with Kellyanne Conway will protect you. Those of you watching at home, somebody better send this to you. I'll send it to you. But I wanted to tell you, dictatorship comes for everyone eventually. It's you. It's a matter of time. And one consistent thing about dictatorships, they always, every single one of them, without an exception, come with mass graves. Every single dictatorship comes with mass graves. So you, who are fooling yourself into a false sense of normalcy, you have blood on your hands. Break the silence. Stand up to the U.S. Constitution. You kick the can down the road. You keep putting it on the American people to stop him. We're now trying to stop him. So where are you? Where are you? Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Keep it going for Andrea Chalupa.
I'm a new fan.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for being here. I know a lot of you traveled from far away. I know that it's really cold. And just want to say to everyone viewing at home, there's more that you can do. Even if you can't join us, you can donate. You can call
NowMarch.org.
your elected leaders from your state. But what's more effective than calling them or writing them is showing up to the Capitol and trying to put your letter in their hand. It's about 10 million times more effective. Let's go. We need Congress to refuse to accept Donald Trump's electoral votes as not regularly given. That's what has to happen. That's what has to happen. And it's on you, Congress. We all came here with our backbones, and we need you to show us yours. All right? Do the right thing, and let's save our democracy.
And that's that for the march. All right, I'm going to go back to stop sharing this, and I am going to go to the Congress and see where we are there. And we're gonna all right, I'm gonna go to C-SPAN itself. I don't want to get stricken for covering his. I don't know if I would get stricken, but here we go.
Johnson.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Mannion.
Hakeem Jeffrey.
Massey.
Tom Emmer.
Emmer.
Well, there's affection.
Mast,
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Matsui, Jeffries. McBath, Jeffries. McBride, Jeffries. McCall, Johnson. McLean,
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. McLean Delaney, Jeffries. McClellan, Jeffries. McClintock, Johnson. McCullum, Jeffries. McDowell,
Mike Johnson.
Johnson.
I
McGovern.
apologize if anybody
Jeffries.
is watching during this.
McGuire,
President Trump won the electoral vote.
Johnson.